Hello everybody and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Such.
And my name is James.
Where do we start, sir?
Lewis Dunk loves red cards when he's on for a clean sheet and about to hit passing tier.
Well, he wasn't on for a clean sheet.
Oh no, they'd already conceded, didn't they?
Mm.
Yeah, I had memories of that monster haul that I was due for at Wolves during the restart period? Must have been during the restart period, wasn't it? He was on for like a 40-pointer, mate, and he blew it with one stupid tackle at the end. Cost him the passing tier, the clean sheet, the man of the match. He'd already scored in the game. Wasn't quite that thrown as last night. And I was surprised to see, actually, that his ownership in the top 1,000 is pretty low, unless people have already rage transferred him out, which wouldn't make sense. But I saw a lot of people asking about, what should you do with Lewis Dunk? It doesn't seem that many people own him. I take it you don't, Suj.
Nah, I bought Webster on the overhaul.
And that's what the majority will have. 45.8% owned in the top thousands. I own Adam Webster as well. How was your weekend? /week?
I just looked now. I have no idea. 67 points.
I'm on 79, which isn't brilliant.
No, well then mine must be worse. Like my rank hasn't changed, but even when I had a good game days, I think with Webster and Kilman and stuff, everybody owned them or captained that other people did. Yeah, it just nothing.
Who did you captain Saturday?
Cancelo.
I did the same. Yeah, this time last week I was convinced I was going to go Ronaldo, and the more and more I thought about it, and it felt like everybody was going towards Ronaldo, the more I decided I wanted to punch against it, because I just felt that if Cancelo did start, he would outscore Ronaldo. Simple as that. And I was happy to take the gamble on what I'd seen the Southampton against Tottenham last Wednesday night. Wasn't overly keen on having Ronaldo. So that cost me 4 points. Sunday, I already had Mo, so I ended up captaining Salah against Burnley for absolutely nothing. But I did captain Ronaldo over Webster last night, which made a little bit of a difference. I'm up to 483rd overall. The weekend scoring felt a little bit like I had a good jump on Saturday because I had Webster, 16-pointer away to Watford with everything bar the expected passing tier, basically. But I think most people started with Webster or Kilman, and then obviously Kilman.
I started with both.
And then, great. Where's your points then? Kilman getting the man of the match.
Nothing from De Bruyne, nothing from Cancelo, 2 from Ward-Prowse, 2 from Conor Gallagher. Harry Kane at least got a shot tier in. Nothing from Mo Salah, and save tier from Pope, but that's it.
Got Trent.
Yep, 7 points.
You not got Ronaldo?
Nope.
That's where the missing
but
points are.
But then if you look at Ronaldo versus Webster, if you captain Ronaldo yesterday, I captained Webster yesterday, I got 22 points over the weekend and yesterday. Ronaldo was 29 over the two. If you captained him yesterday but didn't captain him on the weekend.
28.
So there's only 6 points in it between Webster and Ronaldo over 2 games with one captaincy.
A lot of people got Webster and Ronaldo, but then you've got Kilman. I don't understand.
Kilman.
Where's your points? What have you done with them?
Well, I've got nothing from Cancelo, De Bruyne, Gallagher or Ward-Prowse, have I? So
Jared Bowen?
11.
I don't know where your points are, mate. I've got 4 from Pope, 19 Webster, 7 for Trent, 2s from Gallagher, Ward-Prowse, Coutinho, 4 from Salah, 11 Jared Bowen, 28 from Ronaldo. So, that's a disaster week without...
I got 4 from Pope, 7 from Trent, 22 from Webster, 10 from Kilman, 11 from Bowen, 2 from Gallagher, 2 from Ward-Prowse, 4 from Salah, 5 from Kane.
Yeah, he's the Ronaldo points.
Right.
This is why I started with him.
Yeah.
Because of knowing that if he goes off in a game, and I wouldn't say last night he particularly went off, but it's enough to have done a little bit of damage to certain people, bearing in mind there is over a third of the top 1,000 that don't own Cristiano Ronaldo at the moment. Got any plans for the weekend ahead?
No.
Why?
I haven't even looked at the game, mate, to be honest with you.
You're so useless.
Yeah, honestly, it's getting to the point where I've got 25 transfers. I don't even know what fixtures are where or how. So, fuck knows. I'll probably just make a few transfers this weekend for fun, I think, is my strategy. Let's have a look at what fixtures we got coming up this weekend.
Should we talk captaincy first?
Well, I've only got 2 captains for the next 4 days. I've got Salah, then Kilman, then Salah, then Kilman.
That's the plan, is it?
Well, I've got nothing else. On the days that Kilman's playing, I've got nothing else, so I've got to go Kilman. And on the days Salah's playing, he's playing Norwich and Leeds, so it would be silly not to, wouldn't it?
Is there any debate against going against Mo Salah Saturday, Norwich at home?
No.
Do you think he could be rested?
Maybe.
I might go Cancelo, I think.
Okay.
I might just go down that route, Cancelo against Tottenham. I know it's a passing tier. I know this time he's definitely going to play. I do think there's an element of doubt about Mo Salah starting against Norwich. We'll probably know more off the back of the Inter Milan game this evening. But yeah, I might go Cancelo Saturday. I don't see Tottenham scoring at Man City, personally. Now, I understand for the listener, there's negative bias in my views on Tottenham at the moment. But yeah, I think I'm going to go Cancelo on Saturday.
Okay.
Sunday, we've got Leeds United, Wolves versus Leicester. Currently, I only have Ronaldo. I'm not convinced he's going to start.
Okay.
I think the intensity of Leeds and the way they play, if Cavani is available, they'll want to play Cavani. So he can go and do the workman-like job up front, if you will. Because despite Cavani's age, he still gets around the pitch absolutely fine. If Cavani's not available, I guess Ronaldo still plays, and I'll stick with it because of the volume of shots Leeds concede and stuff, and he may get chances. But my intention either way is to buy Max Kilman on Sunday. The idea, as I spoke about last week, is to sell Laporte, actually, which is going to put me money in the bank. That's then going to give me the combination of Kilman and Webster. I think the majority of people who don't own Max Kilman are probably going to move from Adam Webster to Kilman on Sunday. I think. What's Kilman's ownership at the moment? It was about 25% in the top thousands when I last looked, I think.
9.6.
That's going to grow on Sunday. So it could be by default I end up very similar to yourselves. I think the majority of people will captain Mo Salah on Saturday because it's Norwich at home, and I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I just think there's enough doubt about his start, and I think Cancelo will get the 10-pointer against Tottenham anyway to at least match it or come close. Sunday, it might be that everybody kind of defaults to Kilman if Ronaldo's not in the team. I see there's a few considering selling Ronaldo on Saturday because, yep, that's job done, get rid of it. And there is some logic to the idea of if you do not think he will start at Leeds, there is some logic. It's kind of very un-Sky, but there is some logic to selling him on Saturday, I think, and beefing yourself up with something like Gabriel at Arsenal. So next Thursday, we've got Arsenal-Wolves single game day. Now, for many, I think, who are going to obviously enter Kilman on Sunday, he's probably going in and going, I'm not expecting anything, but look, he got a 10-pointer at Tottenham. They're one of the best sides defensively at the moment. And actually, if Arsenal go in front quite early, there's every chance he'll hit a passing tier, actually, depending on the game status. We talk about that a lot with Arsenal. Going Gabriel Saturday was always the fallback plan for myself if I walked into this weekend with any injuries or problems, was to say, look, Brentford at home Saturday. Obviously, buying on a Saturday unless there's a Friday game is never particularly ideal. But I think, say, for the small number of people who do have Lewis Dunk, Gabriel's in and around at a similar value, and going that way now may save you a future transfer down the line. I would expect, in fact, let's debate that out, Serge. If you were captaining Kilman on Sunday against Leicester, not captaining Gabriel on Saturday, who do you think scores more over the weekend? Gabriel at home to Brentford, Kilman with captaincy at home to Leicester.
I can't see Leicester scoring.
Then the answer would be Kilman, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I can't see Leicester scoring.
Because you need a Gabriel goal then to get beyond
I just
a
can't
full
see
team.
it. Yeah. I don't have enough money to get to Ben White from Conor Gallagher. I'm 0.1 short, which is a bit frustrating because Gallagher obviously can't play on the Saturday. So that to an Arsenal defender would have been great, but I can't get to it. To Tierney, Gabriel, Ben White. So who else will play?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Right, so who will play right back?
Tomiyasu, they reckon, is fit. It's a bit of a gamble at the moment.
But he's more expensive anyway, so I can't get to Arsenal anyway.
So you want to plan to have one. I mean, I think most people's plan is probably that, is to go, look, I'm just going to go with Kilman for, buy him on Sunday is probably the ideal scenario. Have him then for Thursday 24th, because we spoke previously about, obviously Arsenal don't play again until Sunday, March the 6th. There are other teams that play 2 times in between Arsenal's fixture with Wolves, Watford. There's even some teams who play 3 times. Burnley specifically, not that you're that bothered about that. But the entry point Sunday, March 6th for Arsenal makes a lot more sense for a Gabriel or Saka or Ramsdale, whatever you're thinking for that period. It's kind of the end potentially of Pope's run, subject to what Southampton do in the FA Cup. Might be a good time to move Pope onto Ramsdale if that's what you're thinking. So the entry point for Arsenal ideally is not till Sunday, March the 6th, but you can't help but think the best captaincy next Thursday is still an Arsenal player, isn't it? Rather than a Wolves player. It's at the Emirates.
It's going to be 0-0.
It could well be 0-0. If it is 0-0, I think Gabriel's more likely to hit a passing tier than Kilman, to be honest. I think,
yeah, but then is it worth a transfer or whatever else? How are you justifying it?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
Justifiable
I think there isn't. It doesn't really make sense for the sake of it. I think we all think that will probably be a low-scoring fixture. I think between the two clubs, they are probably the 2 clubs in the league at the moment you feel the most like their fixtures are going to be low-scoring games. To go in on the Thursday, even with the captaincy for, say, Gabriel, doesn't necessarily make sense when, say, for example, say you're moving from Webster, as hypothetically, if you've got the money in the bank. I mean, Webster will have 2 games against... You'd have Gabriel captain against Wolves, so I call it effective 2 games. Webster's got Villa at home and Newcastle away. Before then, Gabriel plays Watford. It doesn't actually make any difference. Okay, your captain Hall will be better. But Webster's still got another 2 games where he'd be guaranteed to play, and there are many other circumstances like that. It doesn't overly make sense to buy the Arsenal player. I think it potentially falls for people, like I said, who've got Dunk. I'd really consider buying Gabriel this Saturday, because then there's more justification in it. Dunk will miss... I presume he's going to miss Brighton's next 3 league games, obviously out the FA Cup as well. So if you went Dunk to Gabriel... You've got effective 4-0 before Dunk played again. And then you've got some justification to go into Arsenal early then, rather than you're probably booking in an Arsenal player for a transfer anyway. Because the games on Sunday the 8th are going to be big. I still think that they'll play Chelsea on the Thursday following that, which is Thursday, I think it's the 12th, I want to say, Serge. No, that won't be right, will it?
March.
Yeah, Thursday the 10th, of March. I think they'll play Chelsea that night. It's not locked in yet. It could be announced today. It could be announced next Friday. I do have a suspicion that they may wait as late as next Friday to make a decision on what Chelsea's going to do that midweek, because if Leicester went out in the Europa Conference League, Chelsea could play Leicester instead of playing Arsenal. And in terms of clashing and showing a live broadcast match that night, I'm still not sure. We mentioned the idea of what happens if West Ham play Barcelona. I'd rather watch that than Chelsea against Arsenal. Yeah. I did note, I did a little bit of investigating last night. You're guaranteed a second leg at home.
Oh, wow, okay.
In the last 16 of the Europa League.
Why is that?
Because you won the group, that's the way they're going to do it. So you've got this playoff round now in the Europa League, and all the teams that come through that will play one of the group winners from the Europa League group stage, and the group winners are guaranteed to have a home game. So you're guaranteed a second leg at home. The relevance of that is... I need to buy
my ticket. They fucking email me every other day. Well, save your seat. I don't even know who we're fucking playing. But yeah, I need to buy my ticket.
Are you going to go?
Yeah. Not away. No. Well, I don't know where away, but home I will.
But buy the ticket.
Yeah, I could just get it.
It probably tells you the date on that, and
the price is going to go up.
You left me doing this investigating. The reason I did the investigating is UEFA have this weird kind of... I can't think of an appropriate word to use. They have this weird thing where they don't want 2 games to take place in the same city on the same night. So we've had that before where when Tottenham played Man City in the Champions League in 2019... we were actually drawn to have the second leg at home, but because of coefficient ranking, they swapped the legs around because Man City had a higher coefficient than Manchester United, or it was the other way round, but they swapped the fixture so that then Man City were at home in the second leg. Even though the games wouldn't have been on the same night, one would have been a Tuesday, one would have been a Wednesday, they're really cold about having games in the same city. I don't know if it's because it's people coming from overseas, whether they'd want, say, Napoli fans coming over to West Ham when Chelsea and Arsenal are playing in London on the same night. I mean, there's enough distance that it doesn't have any relevance, does it? But I did wonder if UEFA might block a Chelsea fixture on that night, Thursday the 10th. But there's no reason to, because West Ham will definitely be away.
Yeah. Our game will be the week after the second leg, or is it 2 weeks?
It's week after.
19th.
Yeah.
Sorry, 17th.
So you'll be literally
Thank God, because it's the week after I'm going on holiday, so I'll get that.
Imagine
game
if you
in.
missed West Ham versus Barcelona or Dortmund or Napoli.
Nah. To be fair, I don't miss any games while I'm away. Thank God.
You'd have to tell her to cancel, or just tell her go on your own.
No, she's.
I'll see you in a few days, babe.
Oh dear. Cool.
The relevance of that is though. I don't think Arsenal-Liverpool will go into the following midweek. It certainly can, by the way, which would be Thursday the 17th, that night. And that's one reason why, because Arsenal would be scheduled to play Liverpool at home. I don't think that they want Arsenal-Liverpool to clash with Champions League nights. It obviously can't be played on that Thursday when you would be at home anyway, because Arsenal was scheduled to play 12:30 against Aston Villa on the Saturday. So if Arsenal-Liverpool was to be arranged into that midweek of, say, Tuesday the 15th or Tuesday the 16th, it would have to clash with Champions League games. And I'm not convinced that UEFA will let Sky show the game live. That's where I'm at with it at the moment. But there were plenty of people that do think Arsenal could have fixtures arranged to go into the midweek of match week 28, most likely Chelsea, and match week 29, almost definitely Liverpool. I think the Chelsea game will go in. I think the Arsenal game, the Liverpool game may not. But again, it comes back to the idea of Watford would be before the Chelsea game, really going in on Arsenal on Sunday the 6th. And then you're going to want to go in on Chelsea if that fixture lands on the Thursday as well. Obviously, if you walk into that weekend with further problems, Saturday the 5th, they're away to Burnley, you could go and attack it immediately. I think it's good contingency plan to have ideas like Gabriel for Dunk in the case that it's happened, or to know that on Saturday the 5th, if you have a problem walking into that weekend, you probably want to instantly go to Rudiger, Thiago Silva, something like that, for example. So it's not straightforward to go and buy an Arsenal player next Thursday because there's other teams with still... I mean, it wouldn't make sense to go Pope to Ramsdale on Thursday the 24th, and that's one people be debating about, because before Arsenal play Watford, Pope's got 3 more fixtures. Palace away, Leicester at home, which will be covered for a captaincy, and then Chelsea at home.
Arsenal may be a skip then for some if you've got Kilman and you're not desperate to get into
There's no reason to skip the Arsenal-Wolves fixture because Wolves play
Sunday.
Sunday.
I mean, if you've got Wolves...
And Kilman's so obvious.
Yeah.
There isn't any any point in us debating anything different. Again, because of Burnley's fixtures, I can't say to you, yeah, great, Nick Pope. I mean, Jose Sarr, sorry. Doesn't make sense. And we're going to go, let's go for Jimenez. Listen, Raul Jimenez, unfortunately, doesn't offer himself to be a Sky Fantasy asset, in spite of the fact they have great fixtures. If you want to go down that route as a big differential, crack on by all means, but I think the right solution would be Kilman. It's also worth saying with Wolves as well, they'll offer you a contingency for Sunday the 27th, as that's a single game day where Wolves travel to yourselves to play West Ham. I assume most of us have Jared Bowen at the moment and we'll be holding to captain him in that fixture, but it does offer you a secondary option as well. There's no reason not to go for a Wolves player, really. None.
So we've got a number of questions in on Twitter about Wolves and then Lewis Dunk. I mean, if we talk about Dunk replacements, we'll probably cover off most of the conversation. But it's what's the best Dunk replacement? Let's just answer that. Simple as that. Where would you go to? So we've mentioned Gabriel potentially, and we've also mentioned Kilman. Are they the 2 best?
Well, there'll be people that... I don't suppose many have got Gabriel. Can you have a look at Gabriel's ownership first, Serge? I I don't suppose many are going to have much coverage of Arsenal now, but we need to be aware that's definitely coming. There'll be people there who don't have Kilman, and I think that's really straightforward. Dunk to Kilman on Sunday. But I think if you're sitting there, and there's every chance if you've kind of backed against Webster that you've ended up with Kilman and Dunk, for example, in which case I really think Gabriel is the consideration.
3.2%.
It's low. I'm surprised it's that high at the moment because of the way the fixtures landed from. I do think that's the one where there's justification. You could look at a Rudiger if you have the money in the bank, and you could say again, you could say, right, well, I can enter him on Saturday because they play at Crystal Palace. But then the reality is, again, there's other teams that are going to play 2 or 3 times in between. It doesn't make sense to go and buy a Rudiger. If we look at the teams playing next week, you could make a case, I guess, if you had the money in the bank to, if you don't have Trent, to go, look, Norwich, Leeds at home, I'm going to take that and take the opportunity to build him into the squad. You, of course, don't have to buy a defensive asset. You can move elsewhere. Would you consider, it doesn't feel right to buy a Son or a Kane if you had the money in the bank at the weekend with Manchester City away, but there's an extra fixture. There's obviously extra fixtures for 8 teams because they play next midweek. Arsenal, Wolves we've spoken about. Burnley, I don't think you're adding more. Are you surprised by what's happened with, say, Burnley's additional fixture with Leicester? No one should be surprised that that's got arranged into that midweek. Palace has it. I guess Palace is a case for it. Anderson or Gahey.
Gallagher ain't going to play. Yeah, so Anderson or Gahey, sure, but Gallagher's only got 1 game, so you're not going to him as a replacement.
No, you wouldn't go to Gallagher on Saturday. Many will obviously have anyway. Anderson or Gahey you could consider, but again, timing-wise doesn't feel right. You're going into Chelsea, so you certainly don't expect the passing tiers in that particular fixture. You wouldn't actually be expecting any from points from it. You could make the case that, yeah, there's gains, and in fairness, they're following 2 fixtures after Chelsea are Watford and Burnley. So in terms of, if you did want to go, if you went, right, shit, I want to go Anderson or Gahey, and there's certainly a case to do so, because I think they're now 5th for completed passing tiers amongst the 20 Premier League teams. You've obviously got the top 3. You've got Brighton. I think Palace might have edged ahead of Tottenham in terms of the amount of passing tiers claimed. Now, all of them passing tiers are between Anderson and Gahey, although I think it says more for the rest of the league than actually Palace. You could make a case for Tyrick Mitchell. I spoke about this on the quiz we did a couple of weeks ago on Sky, and said the interesting thing with Mitchell is there's no passing tiers, but he's really good for the tackle bonus. He's only 7 million. And against someone like Chelsea, it doesn't matter. Like, he'll probably hit tackle tier. He's more likely to hit tackle tier against Chelsea than the other guys are against Chelsea for passing tier. That might flip again for the fixtures afterwards. But Mitchell might be a really interesting one to consider. I think he's second only to Norgard for tackle tiers. You see, Norgard had 10 tackles won at the weekend.
Wow.
Luke Ayling had 9 as well, but no one's talking about that because they got battered. But Norgard had 10. I think that's the most in any game this season against Palace, ironically, at the weekend. There's also a really weird trend of players picking up tackle tiers against Palace. There's been more tackle tiers picked up against Palace than any other team, and it's by a long distance. I think it's Wilfried Zaha keeps losing the ball, mate.
We've got a question from Dav who talks about these replacements. Do you think Webster's still good for his passing bonus now that Dunk is banned? Dav doesn't have captaincy cover for next Thursday, and so can move Webster to Kilman to give him that captaincy coverage if Webster's less likely to get.
I think it's what a lot of people are going to do. Okay. I think. I don't want to lose Webster for those games coming up with Villa, Newcastle. I'm also a little bit conscious that I don't think it's beyond reason that Brighton have still got a game to arrange against Tottenham. I don't think it's beyond reason that could land in the midweeks of 28, 29. I also think, although less appealing, that the Manchester City fixtures currently scheduled for FA Cup quarter-final weekend could be brought forward to the midweek before. So I don't want to bin until I've got more information, because I might decide I want more of it. The other side of the international break, their first fixture is Norwich at home as well for Brighton. So I just think he's really consistent, isn't he, Webster? You've got a 7 million defender for basically the 4th best team in the league for passing tiers. And they're not bad defensively either, let's be honest. So I don't really want to move him on. That's why I'm looking at doing it elsewhere with moving Laporte on. And that was my plan prior to Laporte not playing against Norwich anyway, because I suspected this sort of thing may happen. The idea of going Laporte instead of Kilman in the first is blown, isn't it? It's not worked for me. I should have just gone for Kilman.
What's your thoughts on Conor Gallagher? FPL Glasto says he's got nothing in the bank, set up 4-4-2 like me. Is it worth moving Conor Gallagher on?
Why did you start with him?
Well, he's a consistent, regular, just set and forget type player.
Well, exactly. No, I don't see that. What's changed from overhaul, then you started with him, to make you go, shit, I don't want him. What, because he's not returned against Norwich and Brentford? But we know with Conor Gallagher it can be any game anyway, right? He's hauled at Manchester City away and stuff. He's hauled at West Ham away. So he's just really consistent and obvious at that price. They've got... He obviously doesn't play Chelsea this weekend, but then they've got the extra fixture against Watford, which makes up for it. So psychologically for Gallagher, it's just a case of when instead of playing Saturday, in theory he's playing on... Think of it as a Monday night game, for example. Admittedly, with Liverpool playing Leeds, you're not going to captain Gallagher, I presume. But no, I don't think there's a reason to move that on unless you're sitting there with foreign midfield and that's your sacrifice to solve your Wolves problem. But if that's your sacrifice to the Wolves problem, I wouldn't get Kilman on Sunday unless he was your only option for captaincy. Say you've got Ronaldo
just
and
get
he's
him
left
on Thursday after
get him on Thursday after the Watford
game.
game.
Yeah, agreed.
So no, at the moment, I just think Gallagher. I think Paul McNulty called it right months ago on the Hub Pod where he said Gallagher just sit there all season. And I don't know if he's in Paul's team now, but I'm going to guess that he probably is. He's just a consistent, brilliant machine. His ownership's big. I don't intend to move him on. He's proved himself to be more consistent than... I know there was a lot last week about Coutinho and Ramsey after their performances against Leeds. Both decent options. Like I started with Coutinho. I've seen a few teams started with Coutinho and Ramsey. Like really well done on them hauls last week. But you can't get excited about a game against Leeds. This is just completely different to every other game. So if you're sitting, I want to move Gallagher to Coutinho or something, I wouldn't bother.
We've got a couple of questions around single game days, which a few people are asking about Southampton and Leicester as well. So Southampton, Mitch is asking JWP or Breuer for Saints' 5-game run of decent fixtures. I think over at consistency, James Ward-Prowse you'd go with. But obviously they have a single game day. And Columbus, who are the best Southampton and Leicester options for their captaincy days? I'm thinking of bringing in Breuer for Rafinha and Tielemans for Ronaldo, and he's got Jose Sarr captaincy, so can't bring him. He's got Sarr for Wolves captaincy and can't bring in Pope. That's the Burnley-Leicester game, isn't it?
Okay, that's fine if that's the way you've gone. I really like the Breuer option. I started with JWP because there's not a good entry point to Southampton prior to that Norwich fixture, and I just looked at him and went, "You're fantastically consistent. Let's get him in." And I obviously had the returns against Tottenham with him last Wednesday night. And now they walk into a good run of fixtures. So I'm pleased that he's sitting there. I guess that's a Dunk solution as well, actually. In fact, that's...
Roger.
Well, no, Ward-Prowse.
Oh, JWP.
Yeah, as long as... You're probably not sitting there with 3 at the back. If that money's available, Dunk to Ward-Prowse now for Everton at home. And then obviously the captaincy Friday or Breuer. In fact, that's even better than the Arsenal route. Consider them. I mean, that's what I'd do if I'd Dunk. Ward-Prowse or Breuer, as long as that's viable. Salisu's quite cheap and will get the odd tackle tiers, but I wouldn't. I'd go with one of the other two. I mean, Breuer's a brilliant option. Was he 6'6" or something?
Very cheap.
Stupid price. Maybe 7'6" or something. But stupid price. I really wanted to consider him at the start, actually, Armando Breuer. And I wouldn't put anybody off going with him. He's the best value forward, probably in all fantasy formats now at this stage. Breuer is 6'6". It's a disgusting price, isn't it?
Well, you've got a good question here that might be my answer. Lewis Hatton says, who's the best Veghorst replacement? He's got 4.2 in the bank.
Breuer.
Doesn't need to cover any captaincy and punted on him on overhaul, which was a mistake due to the lack of transfers. But Breuer might be a good fix, but it depends. You've got money in the bank. You could go as high as Sonny or something like that. But
so,
do you want to? You could use the money elsewhere.
I'd go Breuer.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
beef up the back.
I really will. I think those with Veghorst, I'd go Breuer. The alternative is you can Ward-Prowse if you've got the money also. I think it's close between. I think there is an allure with Breuer more because the single game day fixture is Norwich as well, and you think, he could put 2 or 3 goals on the board here if he does. I mean, he got man of the match at Old Trafford at the weekend as well, so it's despite not scoring, right?
Yeah.
So,
although he should have got man of the match against Spurs for the 2 assists and didn't because Elianusi got that.
you mean JWP?
JWP should have. Oh, you mean Breuer got man of the match?
Fair, and
sorry, I thought you said JWP got man of the match.
To be fair, I said this on our FPL pod on last Friday. Elianusi in that first half was so good against Tottenham, so I don't have that much of an issue with that, actually. I don't suppose Elianusi is still knocking about in people's teams, but tell you what, he's back in favour and he's dirt cheap as well in the midfield area. He's about 6.6 or something as well, Elianusi. But I think you're comparing that now to Breuer and the fact that we've all got forward option problems. I wouldn't say, Serge, although I've got JWP, if I suddenly walk into an injury issue, I might consider going with him as well, Breuer. And I think that's the one for those who've gone Veghorst. You're upgrading your striker as well. You might be paying less money, but you're putting a better striker in the team. And I think Veghorst has done all right so far. But Breuer is brilliant value. I think what you probably have to do if you go down that route, he becomes dead. You just accept him for what he is. Because to move him around, what are you moving around to? You're going back and forth with Kilman or something? Well, the chances are you need Kilman at the moment as well. So I think if he goes in, you just have to be conscious that he stays in. Whereas JWP is easier to move.
That's the questions that we've had in on Twitter, James. So to wrap this pod, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next week.
What are we going to do?
Because I have no, barring injuries, which obviously are very unpredictable, I have no need to make a transfer until the end of March.
Okay.
Every single captaincy day is covered.
At the moment.
Yeah, of course, the other fixtures might come out, but so the one that might cause me trouble will be Arsenal-Chelsea because I have neither of those. But as it stands, what we know right now, I have no need to make any transfers until the end of March, which is quite a way away, but also I have 25 transfers. I'm going to come armed with 5 transfers that I'm going to make before the end of March.
You ain't going to do this.
Yeah, I'm going to go away and figure out because I need to. Otherwise, I'm going to end up sitting here in the last game week 36, just buying. I'll have more transfers than game weeks left.
It's possible.
So I'm going to come and tell you the 5 moves I'm going to make. They're all going to be luxury moves, right? Because I don't need to make any of them to cover any captaincy.
Okay, when are you doing this for?
Next pod.
Next pod.
Week. Yeah. I'm going to tell you 5 transfers. You're going to tell me whether they're worth it or not worth it. But this is the thing, right?
I can
luxury.
promise the listeners now that when I say to you next Wednesday morning, have you done it? You're going to go, oh, no, shit.
No.
I need to do that.
I'm going to pull up your old Excel spreadsheet and I'm going to write them down. I've got to figure out who the good teams are because I don't know. There might be other people that are in a setup where they only need even 1 transfer to cover a single game day or 2, but still have in the 20s in terms of their transfers left. And so at this point, you start looking for the luxury moves that will get you fixture gains or a better captaincy option than the captaincy option that I have on that given day, for example. So I think there will be people that are trying to firefight, but also people that don't need to firefight, but actually need to use some transfers to get some gains. And that's when you can start climbing up the ranks. Because we did all come out of overhaul so similar, right?
Yeah, and that's going to break.
I haven't heard a lot of people making moves in the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of transfers burnt. I'm surprised today that in the Twitter questions we haven't had a single question saying how many transfers have we got left or whatever, because everybody kind of hasn't moved from 2 weeks ago.
We spoke about this last week. Everyone's got kind of similar ideas with kind of spin-offs at the moment. We spoke about the template kind of formed from overhaul, and most people probably have a 9, for example, from that kind of template of 11 or so players. Before we finish, Leicester, because I don't think we didn't actually answer the question, did we?
Leicester
there is a case to buy Leicester players this Sunday. So there's a gain on that, just simply by the fact of playing Sunday. Perhaps if you're a Ronaldo owner and don't fancy Max Kilman for captaincy on Sunday, Maddison or Tielemans, I think, are the two to consider. Problem for them is same in terms of there's other teams that are going to play twice more before they play again. Remember, they don't play on the weekend of match week 27. They were scheduled to play Chelsea, obviously Chelsea in the Carabao Cup final. They're now going to play Burnley on the Tuesday afterwards. But there is a case, if you intend to captain the Leicester player on the Sunday, and obviously again against Burnley, then I think, yeah, there's a case for buying Maddison or Tielemans on Sunday. Personally, my intention is to probably go into them on that Burnley fixture itself. I probably would still captain Nick Pope as it stands, but I think the entry point for them is going to be good. Remember, we know their fixture against Brentford is definitely on an FA Cup quarter-final weekend, and that fixture could end up being the only fixture on the Sunday as well. And when Burnley play Leicester, you're not going to know that, or are you? The Leicester play their Europa games before the Burnley game. They do, don't they? So you will know by the time the Burnley... If Leicester-Brentford gets moved to the Sunday, because Leicester have gone through to the last 16 in Europe, and we have to assume they probably will, then there's every chance Leicester-Brentford's going to become a single game day as well. So if you're looking there at the moment going, I'm going to have Villa or Arsenal coverage, you might decide you want that Leicester coverage. It's also worth saying Brentford do actually have a good run of fixtures in the run-up as well.
I mean, I'm looking at Norgard.
Yeah.
It's just the alternative. I just got no one I can sell right now. I'm in that point where, I mean, De Bruyne is the only player that I don't need.
I think you should consider selling him on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it's a lot of money for one, and it's like, where am I going to find the games?
But then that's perfect case. So if you were going to move to say Tielemans or Maddison on Sunday, unless you're going to captain them, I can't see the worth of it. It's a difficult fixture at Wolves. And then before Leicester played Burnley, Man City got Everton with a nice break of fixtures either side. They've obviously through in the Champions League, so that's not important after the Everton fixture. So De Bruyne and that highly likely play at Everton. You going right, Leicester player at Wolves or City player at Everton?
City player any day, against anyone, any time.
You still want the City player at Everton. Whereas, say, if you're moving, say, like I'm thinking Laporte to Kilman, I'm looking at it and going, well, it's possibly going to be back-to-back captaincies for me, effective 4-0, before obviously Laporte has that fixture then against Everton. Then City's fixtures toughen up a little bit. Not that I particularly want to move Laporte, because I think his playing 1 in 2 games is better than most people's 2 games in 2 games. You have to factor that in. So where these decisions are, I think for most people, we'll be talking about Leicester more next week. Maddison's got a little bit more explosiveness in him in terms of Tielemans. We noted he was highest for shot tiers from midfielders this season a couple of weeks ago, but he has just posted 3 back-to-back 2-pointers, and I think many of us went with him towards the end of last season and have that lingering, I don't want to go there again. And we know that Tielemans kind of falls into more like the Ward-Prowse bracket, doesn't he? He's consistent, he can do anything, but... And I know he was better in the second half against you. There is this kind of lingering contract problem, which...
Well, he's not going to sign one, so he's on his way out.
It might be affecting his performances somewhat. Plus, Leicester are in no man's land in terms of Premier League, in terms of they're not going to qualify for Europe. They're not going to be in trouble from relegation. Do they begin to put their eggs in the Conference League, which might muddy the waters a little bit further? Another reason to wait, ideally for Leicester, I think, till that Burnley fixture, when we've got more information on fixtures and the like as well.
Indeed. There we go, listeners. I hope you enjoyed this short and sharp episode of Sky Fantasy Football. We'll be back at you tomorrow, well, James will, with Adam 35 Who, Bradley Parker Wolves.
Yeah, we'll
previewing that.
Exactly that. We'll
Kilman
be talking
versus Gabriel
Arsenal,
debate.
It will be FPL slanted, but we will be talking Arsenal and Wolves, definitely. And we also did Liverpool and Leeds yesterday as well. Talked about potential rotations for Liverpool over the week to come. Might be of interest to Sky listeners.
Lovely, jubbly. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you are listening to the old podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. If you're an Android user, just go to Google Play, type in Planet FPL and download the app, because it'll all get fed straight to you. Other than that, that's it. Look after yourselves.
I've got one more question, actually.
Go for it.
Sunday.
This Sunday?
Yeah. Would you captain Rafinha or Kilman?
Kilman.
That's interesting.
I don't think Leicester will score against Wolves.
Do you think Leeds will score against Man United? Yeah.
Less likely than Leicester scoring. Wolves keeping a clean sheet. I think Wolves' clean sheet's more bankable than Rafinha scoring.
Okay.
And we don't know if he is carrying a niggle because he did get hooked the other day. So
I think if Ronaldo doesn't start, Kilman will be the most captained on Sunday.
yeah, and then your effective ownership
There'll
comes
be a
into play,
lot of buys for him, yeah. But Rafinha's high as well. Was it 55% top 1,000, something like that?
No.
And it wouldn't have been him at the moment. They've got another difficult fixtures, but they've got 2 fixtures coming up close together. They've got that rare thing, haven't they, Leeds, where Sunday, Wednesday is effective consecutive days. It's rare that happens in Sky. So I wouldn't bin Rafinha at the moment.
No. There we go. Listeners, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back at you tomorrow. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this game week. Cue music, please, man, child.